beautiful morning, cool but bright. We've got a couple of days like this, so I want to make the most of it. And there's a few things to get done today, but I noticed today as I was walking around the plot, there's an awful lot of bird activity. The sparrows are chirping in the trees as they're starting to think about nesting. The robins flying around, and there was also a wren just down by the compost bins, which was lovely to see. I do love to see the birds on my plot. Okay, so what's in order today? Well, I've sort of got on top of this area now, although I do want to add a bit of soil to this area because there's a bit too much gradient on it and it's sloping away at the fence. So I'm thinking that the soil that I pulled away when I was leveling this area and just dumped here, I think I might just tidy this up and use a little bit of it. I've got to get in there and sort that out. I think that's where I'm going to have that box once I've repaired it. So there's quite a lot of work to do in there. I don't think I'm going to do that today. It's not very motivating, that. It's a real struggle to get my head around getting on top of it, but I'll have to do it eventually, I think. But probably the most pressing thing for me, or exciting I should say, is filling these barrels up, because I'd like to work out whether they're properly connected and whether they flow one into the other successfully. So I think I'm going to get the hose out and attached to my neighbour who's got an outside tap and just fill that end one and see what happens. It'd be interesting to watch as it fills each time as to whether it trickles into the others. So I'm going to do that. My garlic is coming on amazingly. Really, really nice. Beautifully green leaves. And I got to watch. Last year they took a real hit from a very, very hard frost and went a bit brown. But at the moment they're looking really green and lush. Right, what else? So if I can get that level, I'm thinking that I might take back a bit of membrane, or not membrane really, it was butyl rubber that used to be used for a pond and was punctured, but it makes a fantastic base. And I'm feeling like I might pull that out from under there because it's not critical. If I really needed to put something under there, there's plenty of other alternatives, but that's a really good piece of covering for preventing weeds. And I'm thinking that that might just sit on top of here once I get a bit level. Right, there's other things, but let's get that cracking. Although I do want to show you in the polytunnel. Let's go in there next and see what's happening. So I haven't uncovered the soil in here since I did the algae removal, and I think you can see that the algae removal has been fantastic. Everything's just gone a sort of pale colour and it'll rub off now with a cloth. I need to get to that, but I'd like to uncover this because I don't want it to dry out. And there is fantastic news in here. I was thinking I was just going to take this off and it was still going to be zero germination, but no, look at that. My onions that were planted in January have started to sprout, and that's a fantastic sign, because once they get going they're always that much hardier if they can grow from seed in the cool. So that's really brilliant. And nothing's happening to my peppers, but that's fine, just not warm enough. But to see those germinating is fantastic news. So I am going to take this off today. I don't want those strawberry plants to dry out, so I'm going to give them a bit of a water. And the temperatures in here have been -5.3 and as high as 28.6, currently 13 degrees C. And whilst we're on temperatures, I love a temperature, I'm going to look at the compost and just see where it's at, because I left that thermometer in there. Oh my word, it's bordering on 118 degrees centigrade, about 48, 49 degrees Fahrenheit. And I got asked a very relevant question, which was, if it really gets that hot, won't it prevent the worms from rising up inside it? And the answer to that is yes, but the worms are pretty smart. As they progress up the base of the compost, they detect the warmth and just stay at the level that suits them. And then as it cools down, so they rise up. So they're pretty, I suppose you'd call them self-regulated. Right, let's get the hose out. Phew, cold hoses, always such a pain. There we are, go and attach it. Right, here we go. I have got a tap on this one. There is a small risk that it will leak. We'll see. But there we are. First one's filling up. And I'll bring you back when it starts to get to the top, if I can get there in time, or to go off and do some other things. Right, well, I'm going to take a bit of this surplus away, which will just help me fill that gradient a little bit. Shouldn't take me too long. I don't think there's more than a couple of wheelbarrows here, because I do need some to finish off the edge, but it all helps. Well, there wasn't quite as much there as I would have liked, but there we are. I'm just going to put it into what appears to be quite a big hole there and there. I'll spread it out. That'll give us a bit more level anyway, which will help when it comes to standing pots up in here. There we go. Right, I'm going to go and get that bit of membrane or butyl and just stand it on here and then see what coverage I've got. Well, it occurred to me when I was coming over here to get that butyl that I've got a lot of, well, random stones and broken bits of paver, and they could help me raise the level of that edge, given that I'm going to cover them with that rubber butyl. And I've got to get this out of these areas anyway, so why not make good use of them rather than just have a pile of fairly odd shaped and really unwanted brickwork and various bits and bobs. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes picking anything up that I think would be useful, and we'll take it over there and set it down. That moment's just happened, and you can see that I need to bung this hole because it's certainly overflowing nicely to there, but this hole here is that much lower. So I'll get that in there and wait till that levels out. I can bung that later. If I fill this one now, I can get to understand what's going to happen here. And as you can see, it needs some fine tuning, but I'm sure we'll get there. In the meantime, it's getting a bit wet over there, but I'm getting these stones in the back area, so I'll just carry on. Okay, well, that's far from perfect, but there's plenty I've got to get on with, and I don't want to spend too much time trying to resolve small matters like this. So given that the pots are just going to stand on that, it's certainly going to do the job in the short term. And I can always come back to it because moving the pots off and lifting that fabric will be very easy indeed. So I'm going to live with that. I'm not going to pull pots over right now, but whilst I was doing that, I noticed that this water is leveled out now, and you can see that the difference between it overflowing and not is just a few millimeters, and it's stopped overflowing here. So I'm thinking I only need to raise this just a fraction. So I think I'm going to wedge it. I've got a bit of slate and a bit of perspex. I think I'm going to put that under there and see if I can just lift that marginal amount and get it overflowing. There you go, it's fine margins. There's actually too much water going in there now at too high a rate, and it's overflowing over the edge, but you can see that it's overflowing here nicely and it's not overflowing at this point. So that's working just perfect. And that little bit of slate in there, that's there permanently now. That'll do the job just fine. And I don't know what the flow will be into here, what sort of speed of flow. I'm thinking ultimately I'd like it to come from the shed roof and along the back here, but we'll have to see how things work out. There always can be a bit of adjustment here. It's not a big deal. As long as everything holds water and they fill up those three, I really don't mind if they're, you know, shimmied a bit here and leveled a bit there. It doesn't make any difference to me at all, as long as they hold water. Right, let that one fill, which looks like it's leaning back, but it might just get to this point first. We'll see. Otherwise I'll need to do some adjustment down there as well, and we'll get there in a bit, I'm sure. Okay, the plan here is to use this lever with some weight on so that I've got no strain on me, and then to slide this in. So let's see, well, that comes up nice and easy. It's going to need a little bit more weight on there and I should succeed. Okay, there we go. This one's now overflowing nicely into this one, and that one's overflowing nicely into this one. I don't think I'm going to have any problems at all going into here because we've got a real good step down level. So I'm going to fill this one up. Actually, I'm going to fill this one up and we'll see how that fares. And we've got a bit of jiggery pokery down on the base, but they're nice and stable, and as I say, as long as they fill up, good times. It's like I'm running out of time now. I always intended to come out of this shed by March the 1st. So I'm down to the last few bits, but this bench, which I tried to get out the other day, I really struggled with because my drill ran out of battery. So I'm going to get the legs off these and get it out of here and see my way clear to the next steps. Well, the acid test, of course, is put water in the M1 and does it come out this end? And on the face of it, yes, it does. There's certainly some overflow because the flow going into the end one is too great at the moment, but yeah, that's working out pretty well. Very pleased. Right, let's get these bits done. I'm just going to give these onions just a light watering. Make sure they don't dry out. It's all too easy when you get this cold weather, but it's bright, to forget to water seedlings. You just get in that it's not springtime yet mode, and you find that you can neglect them. Right, get my covers off of here, and then I'll be able to water the strawberry plants that are just bedded in here temporarily whilst I wait for the warmer weather. I've got to be a bit careful with these plastic covers. I took the corners off them all because they're so sharp that they can easily dig into the polytunnel. Right, they slot nicely away down there, and then my proper cloche covers, which are available on the internet from I think naturally gardening is the place to go. There we go. I can sit on top. And yeah, my strawberries are looking fine. And I got that plan to put them out into the edge of the raspberry bed. So I'm going to stick with that. And they'll come out of there when I'm ready to prepare this bed. In the meantime, I've got to get that wooden bench top in here somehow. So I'm thinking, now that I've moved all the crates out from underneath my sewing bench, I might just be able to get it in there. And then it'll be out of the way and I can forget it until I get my shed organised. There's another one of those covers. Right, I'll faff around. Well, things are a bit cramped in here, certainly under there. And I need to get that box sorted out at the bottom and then I can move some of the crates and things out. It just feels a bit busy for me. I like it to be organised, as you probably know. But we've got a few weeks yet before I start sowing and growing, so I'm sure I'll get there. In the meantime, I'm getting out of the shed and getting out of that area. I'm nearly there. Well, I've got a few leaks on the tops of those where the hoses are, but that's fine because the main thing is I've got a almost full barrel full of water, which will be filled by the rain and hopefully long term by the shed. So, well, I've got quite a lot done today. It's been a good day. Nice weather, and there's some more nice weather coming this week, which is great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. And if you did, why not like and subscribe? Click on the bell, get my uploads every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 p.m. Diolch yn fawr.